Nobody tells you when you're standing in the middle of your worst season. Nobody tells you that you're not breaking down, you're being rebuilt. Nobody whispers in your ear that the pressure crushing your chest right now is the same pressure that turns coal into diamonds. And nobody, absolutely nobody, prepares you for the truth that the monster you're destined to become is being forged in the exact fire you're begging God to pull you out of. I'm going to tell you something that might disturb your comfort tonight. Your hard times are not accidents. They are not mistakes in the divine manuscript. They are not evidence that you've been forgotten or that your prayers have bounced off the ceiling and fallen back down unanswered. Your hard times are assignments. They're the curriculum of champions. They are the brutal, unforgiving classroom where ordinary people are transformed into extraordinary forces of nature. But here's what breaks my heart. Most people waste their wilderness. They spend their entire season of difficulty complaining about the desert instead of drinking from the wells hidden beneath the sand. They cause the pressure instead of understanding that pressure is the only thing that can push them into dimensions they could never access through ease and comfort. Listen to me carefully. The version of you that's going to accomplish what you've been dreaming about doesn't exist yet. That person hasn't been born. And the only delivery room for that version of you is the hard time you're going through right now. The contraction pains you're feeling, that's the universe pushing out a new you. The darkness you're experiencing, that's the womb where your greatest self is being knitted together. There was a young man, let me tell you about him. He grew up in a small village where opportunity was a foreign language nobody spoke. His father died when he was 12 years old, leaving behind nothing but death and disappointment. His mother worked 3 jobs, and still there were nights when dinner was a conversation about what they would eat if they had money to buy food. This young man wore the same torn shoes for 4 years straight. He walked to school with cardboard inside them to cover the holes. And when it rained, he'd arrive with wet socks and wounded pride. His classmates mocked him. They called him newspaper boy because his books were wrapped in old newspapers. Instead of the fancy covers their parents bought them, teachers looked past him because poverty to them was invisible. He was just another poor kid from another poor family, destined to continue the cycle of lack that had defined generations before him. But something happened in that season of humiliation. Something shifted in his spirit that nobody could see with their natural eyes. Every insult became fuel. Every closed door became a reason to build his own house. Every no he heard became a whisper in his soul saying, not yet, but watch what I'm building in you. The hunger in his stomach translated into hunger in his spirit. The cold nights when they couldn't afford heating taught him that comfort is not a requirement for progress. It's actually often the enemy of it. This young man didn't waste his hard time. While other people in his position were becoming bitter, he was becoming better. While others were making excuses, he was making plans. He studied under street lights when the electricity was cut off at home. He borrowed books from libraries and read them multiple times until the words became part of his DNA. He worked odd jobs before and after school, and instead of spending that money on momentary pleasures, he invested in himself. 20 years later, that same young man owns a network of businesses that employs over 2,000 people. He built schools in villages like the one he came from. He created scholarship programs for children who wear torn shoes with cardboard in them. But here's what's important. When you sit with him and ask about his success, he doesn't talk about his strategies or his intelligence or his lucky breaks. He talks about those years of hunger. He talks about walking in the rain with wet feet. He talks about the shame he felt when his classmates laughed at him. And then he says something that stops you in your tracks. Those weren't my worst years. Those were my university years. Everything I am today was downloaded into my spirit in that season of lack. Do you understand what he discovered? He discovered that hard times are not penalties. They are promotions in disguise. They are not punishments. They are preparation. They are not designed to break you down, but to build something in you that success and comfort could never construct. Right now, somebody reading, this is in a season that feels like death. Your business is struggling. Your relationships are falling apart. Your bank account is a mockery of your dreams. Your health is betraying you. Your reputation has been destroyed by people that you trusted, and you're asking yourself, how much more can I take? When does this end? Why is this happening to me? Let me answer that last question. It's happening for you, not to you. There's a difference, a massive difference. When you understand that your hard time is happening for your benefit, your entire perspective shifts. You stop being a victim and become a student. You stop complaining and start taking notes. You stop asking why me and start asking what is this trying to teach me. The monster you're becoming, and I use that word deliberately, is not a creature of cruelty. It's a force of capacity. It's a person who has been through so much that nothing can intimidate them anymore. It's someone who has survived what should have destroyed them, and in that survival discovered dimensions of strength they didn't know existed in the human spirit. Monsters are not born in peaceful nurseries. They're forged in volcanic pressure. They're hammered out on the anvil of adversity. They're carved from the raw rock of suffering by the relentless chisel of challenge. And when they emerge, when they finally step out of the fire, they're unstoppable. They're undeniable. They're unshakable. I want you to think about iron for a moment. Iron in its natural state is weak, is brittle, it breaks easily. But when you subject that same iron to extreme heat, when you hammer it repeatedly, when you fold it and forge it and refuse to let it stay comfortable, it becomes steel. It becomes strong enough to build bridges and skyscrapers and machines that move the world. The iron didn't change its molecular structure because someone prayed over it or spoke positive words to it. It changed because it went through a process that was violent, hot, and unforgiving. Your hard time is your forge. Your struggle is the hammer. And the monster you're becoming is the steel version of the iron person you used to be. But here's the tragedy. Most people run from the forge. They feel the heat and immediately start looking for exits. They feel the hammer and cry out for relief. They want the strength of steel, but they are not willing to endure the process that creates it. They want the testimony without the test. They want the victory without the battle. They want to be monsters without going through the making. And so they stay iron. They stay weak, brittle, breakable. They spend their entire lives complaining about their circumstances instead of using their circumstances as the raw material for transformation. They waste their wilderness wandering around in circles when they could be using that same wilderness to build spiritual muscle and mental fortitude. There's a story I need to share with you because it illustrates this principle perfectly. In a small town, there was a potter, a master craftsman, known throughout the region for creating the most beautiful, durable pottery anyone had ever seen. People would travel for days just to purchase his work because they knew it would last for generations. One day, a young apprentice came to learn from him. The apprentice was excited, eager, ready to create masterpieces immediately. But the master potter didn't hand him clay and a wheel on the first day. Instead, he took the apprentice to his workshop and showed him a piece of pottery that was cracked, deformed, and ugly. This was my first attempt, the master said. I was so excited to create something beautiful that I rushed the process. I didn't prepare the clay properly. I didn't remove the air bubbles. I didn't center it correctly on the wheel. And when I put it in the kiln, the heat exposed every flaw I had ignored. It cracked. It became useless. The apprentice looked confused. So what did you learn? The master smiled. I learned that the kiln doesn't create the weaknesses, it reveals them. The heat doesn't destroy good pottery, it exposes bad preparation. Every crack, every deformation, every failure was already in the clay. The fire just made it visible. Then the master showed the apprentice another piece. This one flawless, strong, beautiful. This piece went through the same fire, same temperature, same duration. But the difference is I prepared this clay, I worked with it, I removed every air pocket, I centered it perfectly, I shaped it with patience and precision. And when the fire came, and the fire always comes, it didn't destroy this piece, it perfected it. The heat that exposed the weakness in the first piece revealed the strength in this one. Do you see it? Your hard time is the kill. The question is not whether you face the heat is mandatory. The question is, what are you doing in preparation for it? Are you allowing this season to walk the air bubbles out of your character? Are you letting this struggle center you? Are you permitting this pressure to shape you into something that can withstand even greater temperatures in the future? Because here's the truth, that nobody wants to hear, if you survive this fire, there's another one coming. And if you survive that one, there's another one after it. Life is a series of kilns, each one hotter than the last, each one designed to take you to higher levels of strength and capacity. The person who runs from the fire stays weak. The person who embraces it becomes unbreakable. I'm talking to someone right now who is in the middle of the worst season of their life. You've lost things that can't be replaced. You've been betrayed by people you would have died for. You've tried and failed so many times you've lost count. Your prayers feel like they're hitting a concrete ceiling. Your faith is being tested in ways you never imagined. And you're wondering if you're going to make it. Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. You're going to make it. But more than that, you're going to emerge from this as a completely different person. The version of you that entered this season is too small for where you're going. That version wouldn't be able to handle the weight of the blessing that's waiting on the other side of this battle. That version wouldn't have the capacity to steward the doors that are about to open. That version wouldn't have the wisdom to navigate the platforms you're about to stand on. So the hard time you're going through right now is not trying to end you, it's trying to expand you. It's not trying to destroy you, it's trying to develop you. It's not trying to break you down. Is trying to break you open so that the giant that's been sleeping inside you can finally wake up and roar. And when you emerge, when you finally step out of this season, you won't be the same person who went in. You'll be a monster. Not in the sense of someone who's cruel or heartless, but in the sense of someone who's unstoppable, undeniable, and unafraid. You'll be someone who has looked death in the face and didn't blink. You'll be someone who has been through hell and came back with the fire still in their eyes. The hard times are building you. Every tear is constructing something. Every sleepless night is engineering something. Every moment when you wanted to quit but chose to continue is forging something magnificent in your spirit. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. That's what people don't understand. They think that one day you're struggling and the next day you wake up as this powerful, unstoppable force. But that's not how metamorphosis works. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly in a single moment of decision. It goes through a process so intense, so complete, that if you cut open the cocoon in the middle of it, you wouldn't find a caterpillar or a butterfly. You'd find liquid. Complete dissolution. Total breakdown of what was to make room for what will be. Your hard time is your cocoon. And right now, in the middle of it, you might feel like you are dissolving. You might feel like everything that defined you is breaking apart. Your confidence gone. Your certainty about the future shattered. Your understanding of who you are completely questioned. And in that liquefied state, when you feel like nothing and nobody, that's exactly when the reconstruction begins. See, most people panic in the liquefied state. They feel themselves breaking down and they think it's the end. They reach for anything that will make them feel solid again. Bad relationships, substance abuse, destructive habits, anything to escape the discomfort of not knowing who they are anymore. But the wise ones, the ones who become true monsters, they stay in the cocoon. They endure the dissolving. They trust that what's breaking down is making room for something greater to be built. Let me tell you about a woman I once heard of. Her story will change how you see your current struggle. She was a surgeon, one of the best in her country. She had spent 15 years building her career, building her reputation, building a life that everyone admired. She had the house, the car, the status, everything that society tells you means you've made it. And then in one moment, everything collapsed. During a routine surgery, something went wrong. Not because of her negligence, not because of her incompetence, but because of a series of circumstances beyond her control. The patient didn't make it. And even though the investigation cleared her of any wrongdoing, even though every expert confirmed she had done everything correctly, the patient's family launched a massive campaign against her. They went to the media, they destroyed her reputation, they made her name synonymous with failure and death. Within 6 months, she lost everything. The hospital let her go to protect their image. Other hospitals wouldn't hire her because of the controversy. Her colleagues distanced themselves. Her friends disappeared. The money dried up. She lost her house. She lost her car. She ended up living in a small apartment, working part-time at a retail store just to pay rent and eat. For 2 years, she lived in what she called the death of everything I thought I was. She would wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, reliving that surgery, asking herself what she could have done differently, even though she knew the answer was nothing. She fell into deep depression. There were days she couldn't get out of bed. There were moments she stood on the edge of her balcony and thought about ending it all. But something happened in year 3. Something shifted. She was working her retail job, folding clothes. When a customer came in, a woman who looked exhausted, defeated, barely holding herself together. This woman tried on several items, but couldn't make a decision about anything. She kept apologizing, saying she couldn't think straight, that her life was falling apart. And in that moment, the former surgeon saw herself. She saw her own pain reflected in this stranger's eyes. And instead of just being a sales clerk, she stopped what she was doing, took the woman to a quiet corner of the store and just listened. For an hour, she listened to this woman pour out her story of loss and struggle. She didn't give advice. She didn't try to fix anything. She just created space for someone else's pain because she understood what it felt like to be drowning. That woman came back the next week, not to shop, but to talk. And she brought a friend who was also struggling. Soon, the former surgeon found herself becoming an unofficial counselor to people who were going through hard times. Word spread. People started coming to the store specifically to talk to her. They called her the listener. One day, the store manager called her into the office. She thought she was getting fired for spending too much time talking instead of selling. Instead, the manager said, "I've been watching what you do. You have a gift for helping people through pain. Have you ever thought about becoming a therapist?" She hadn't. She had. I've been so consumed with what she had lost that she never considered what she might gain. But that conversation planted a seed. She started researching, studying, taking online courses while still working retail. It took her 3 more years of night classes, sacrifice, and determination. But eventually, she became a licensed therapist specializing in trauma and grief. Today, she runs a thriving practice. But here's what's powerful. She doesn't work with just anyone. She specifically works with people who have lost everything. People who have been publicly humiliated. People whose careers have been destroyed. People who are standing on the edge, wondering if life is worth living. And she helps them with an authority that no textbook could ever give her, because she has been where they are. She has felt what they feel. She knows the darkness they are walking through. When you ask her about those years of loss, she doesn't curse them anymore. She says, "I had to lose the surgeon I was to become the healer I was meant to be." The surgeon could fix bodies. The healer restores souls. And you can't learn how to restore souls in medical school. You learn it in the valley of your own destruction. Do you see the pattern? The hard time didn't just happen to her. It happened for her. It dismantled who she was so that who she was meant to be could emerge. The monster that was built in her during those years wasn't a surgeon with a good reputation. It was a healer with a profound understanding of human suffering. And that second version is infinitely more valuable than the first. This is what I need you to understand. Your hard time is not random. It's not senseless. It's not proof that you've been abandoned. It's strategic. It's purposeful. It's preparing you for an assignment that requires a level of depth strength and compassion that you could never develop in comfort. The person who has never been broke cannot truly help the poor. They can give them money, sure, but they can't give them hope because they don't understand the specific darkness of poverty. The person who has never been betrayed cannot minister to the betrayed. They can offer sympathy, but not empathy. They can speak about forgiveness, but they can't speak from forgiveness. The person who has never been sick cannot truly comfort the sick. They can visit hospitals, but they can't understand the fear that grips you at 3 in the morning when your body is failing and you're alone with your thoughts. Your hard time is giving you credentials that no institution can provide. It's giving you authority that no position can confer. It's giving you wisdom that no book can teach. And on the other side of this, you're going to help people in ways that only someone who has walked through fire can help them. Your mess is becoming your message. Your test is becoming your testimony. Your breakdown is becoming your breakthrough, not just for you, but for everyone who will be impacted by the monster. You're becoming. But you have to stay in the process. You have to resist the urge to shortcut your way out of this season. You have to stop praying for the removal of the pressure and start praying for the strength to endure it. You have to stop asking for the fire to be turned down and start asking for the impurities in your character to be burnt away. Because here's what happens when you try to escape the process prematurely. You abort the very thing that's been built in you. You end up with a partial transformation. You become someone who has the potential to be a monster but remains domesticated by comfort. You stay small when you were designed for dominance. You stay weak when you were being forged for warfare. You stay average when you were being shaped for excellence. I've seen it happen too many times. People who were in the middle of an incredible transformation, but the pain became too much, so they took the easy way out. They went back to toxic relationships because loneliness felt worse than dysfunction. They gave up on their dreams because failure felt more painful than regret. They compromised their values because standing alone felt harder than blending in. And years later, you see them and there's something missing in their eyes. There's a giant that was supposed to wake up but is still sleeping. There's a monster that was supposed to emerge but is still trapped in the cocoon of what could have been. Don't let that be your story. Whatever you're going through right now, no matter how painful, no matter how long this lasted, no matter how many times you've wanted to quit, stay in it. Not because the pain is enjoyable, but because the product is essential. Not because suffering is the goal, but because transformation is the reward. The monsters that this world needs, the real ones, the ones who change history and shift atmospheres and break generational curses, they are not built in seminars and conferences. They are not constructed through motivational speeches and positive affirmations. They're forged in the secret place of struggle. They're hammered out in the lonely nights when nobody is watching. They're carved from the rock of resistance and opposition. And when they emerge, everyone wants to celebrate them. Everyone wants to know their secret. Everyone wants to be around them and touch them and learn from them. But very few people want to go through what they went through. Very few people are willing to pay the price they paid. Very few people have the courage to stay in the fire long enough to be transformed by it. You have been given an opportunity right now that most people will never receive. Not everyone gets refined by fire. Not everyone gets hammered on the anvil. Not everyone gets to go through a season so intense that it fundamentally rewrites their DNA. This is not a curse. This is an invitation into a dimension of existence that the comfortable will never access. When you come out of this, and you will come out of this, you're going to carry an authority that cannot be challenged. You're going to have a strength that cannot be shaken. You're going to possess a wisdom that cannot be taught. People are going to look at you and wonder how you're still standing. They are going to marvel at your resilience. They are going to be intimidated by your unshakable nature. And when they ask you how you became who you are, you're going to smile and say, hard times built me. The pressure that should have destroyed me actually developed me. The season that everyone thought would be my end turned out to be my beginning. So right now, in this moment, I want you to make a decision. Stop resisting your hard time. Stop causing it. Stop asking for it to end prematurely. Instead, lean into it. Extract every lesson. Embrace every pressure point. Welcome the heat, because you understand that you're not being cooked. You're being crafted. You're not being destroyed. You're being designed. You're not being diminished. You're being developed into the monster you were always meant to become. The world is waiting for you, not the old you, the comfortable you, the soft you. The world is waiting for the version of you that only this hard time can produce. The version that can't be intimidated by opposition. The version that can't be stopped by setbacks. The version that looks at impossibility and laughs because you've already survived what should have killed you. Hard times build monsters. And you, my friend, are in the building process right now. Stay there. Endure it. Trust it. And when you emerge, and you absolutely will emerge, you're going to be unstoppable. The monster is coming. And the world has no idea what's about to be released.